I'm going to call this meeting to order. Let's stand and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Let's pray. We begin this meeting by acknowledging that all productivity and success come from you. You are the provider of our abilities and our opportunities. We cannot do anything without your help. Brief moment for your own intentions. Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Motion second to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The opportunity for public comments. Anyone wish to speak public comment today? Mr. Newman.
Good morning, Commissioners. I just wanted to remind you that there's...
Larry, could you please identify yourself?
Larry Newman from Northdale.
Thank you.
I just want to remind the Commissioners that there's still a lot of people in Meade County that don't like zoning or vacating section line right-of-ways. Mr. Wazorek to speak into his microphone so we can hear him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Mr. Wazorek has been told that before.
Yeah.
Anybody else wish to speak for public comment? I see there's a lot of people today with the Mind Group. Is there, you guys like to come forward? I give it, like I said, usually give 3 minutes apiece. Probably limit this conversation on the Mind to about 15 minutes total. Let's just handle everything Mind for the next 15 minutes.
Good morning, Brandon Scott from Somerset. And so we're here today, kind of continuing on from the last time that we were here. And really following up with the ideas of 11.238, which is the survey and map of the territory to be zoned. And so we've brought Mr. Scott here to that has drawn up the map that follows the county's comprehensive plan that we're planning to move forward with to begin getting petitions of people in that region. I think that's trying to do this following as best as we can, following through 11.2. And so we have the map drawn basically following exactly from the comprehensive plan that was just passed, and that'll be what we're hoping to move forward with this on.
Great. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Scott?
Not so much. My name is Dean Scott. I'm just the surveyor. Thanks. I'm Dean Scott. I'm the surveyor, and we just prepared the map. And you're welcome to look at it. It does have a legend. You have to walk up to it to read it, but you can see the kind of the olive yellow color. That's the existing comprehensive plan area with all the communities within it and their city limits and so on. So
I assume you have a smaller piece of that someplace.
yeah, it can be issued. It's in PDF form, so it can be emailed to the commission. Anyone that's like to.
I would like a copy of it if you don't mind.
Sure thing. I can send it to the commissioners.
You can send it to Rhea, and she can.
Wonderful. Does anybody else wish to speak on the mine issue? Did commissioners see the map? I guess, like I said, I think they'll email it to everybody.
I saw one that was circulating around a bit. The one comment I'd have, I understand trying to follow the comprehensive plan, but there might be some just edges around the eastern edge. If we followed the precincts, might make the county's job and your job a lot easier. That might be something worth considering, because the have to look at the precincts then to get your counts, and the comprehensive plan doesn't follow precinct lines, but the precinct lines are generally along section lines or quarter lines. And sometimes it whip out some neighborhoods. But if you coordinated with the county and followed the precinct lines, it might make everybody's job a little bit easier for you circulating petitions and the county confirming your signatures. Does that make sense, auditor and former auditor?
Formers?
Yeah, former. And there's one out there
Lisa's out here too.
But that's one thing I noticed, because the first question you get on this side is, okay, how do we rationalize your signatures and get your signatures, and many things don't follow precinct lines, but given the sizing, that might help quite a bit on both sides.
I would add, that's obviously publicly available. Is that something that you could help?
Absolutely, we can help you with that.
All right, thank you.
So, excuse me, Talbot, would that be more or less you're thinking that a reduction from
Well,
the...
there might be some spots where it bumps out a little bit and some where it pulls back.
Okay.
Rhea looked at it rough, and I looked at it rough, and we thought that the way it looks like to me is you would maybe lose a quarter mile in a couple spots, but you might have poke out and catch a couple subdivisions in a couple spots. But it's not. You're not going to lose a ton of area, I wouldn't think. But we could take a look at that. Might be something worth looking at.
I'm sure GIS can send you a shape file.
Yeah, okay, that'd be good.
Okay, thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys are working hard on this, and I appreciate what you guys have done. Anybody else wish to speak on the mine? Anybody else? Yes, sir. How are we doing on total time?
4 minutes, but that included.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Push the button.
Hi, my name is Alan Feldman. I live in Somerset. Appreciate all the things that you've done in relationship to protecting the health and safety of those of us who live in Meade County. And just wanted to mention, you may or may not be aware that Simon Construction will be doing a presentation tomorrow between 4 and 6 o'clock at Stage Bar Middle School. My assumption is the purpose of that is to go ahead and let us all know how wonderful it will be that there'll be a 300-acre mine in our neighborhood, and all the financial and other benefits that they feel that will present to the community. So if any of you have an opportunity to go ahead and go tomorrow, I'm sure it'll be interesting, and other adjectives may also apply. So thank you again for all of your support.
Thank you, Mr.
I will say, a couple of us met with Simon last week. Mm-hmm. We were pleased to see the actual mining area that they have selected will be 60 acres and not 300.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's over a 20-year period, if I recall right.
According to their map, which they did acknowledge, that wasn't 100%.
Right. It was preliminary, but it was their plans that they had developed as of March 3rd, I believe, was the date.
I recall.
They said they hadn't had any plans prior to that.
60 acres.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And thank you for speaking so forcefully over the number of times I've been here in relationship to the State Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources. Well, we empathize because we all probably feel the same way that you do, that there needs to be some changes on the state level, not only to look out for the interests of those who live in Meade County, but across the entire state of South Dakota. So thank you for speaking with such passion as well as knowledge.
Wow.
Thank you, Mr. Feldman. I appreciate you coming today, and I appreciate you letting everyone know about that meeting tomorrow. And it is a public meeting from the advertisement I have seen thus far.
Yes, from what I saw and what I put on Facebook.
Meade County Town Hall.
Yeah.
Anybody else wish to speak on the mine? We're getting limited on time on the mine issue. Anyone else want to speak real quick on the mine? Not, I will close public comment on the mine, and I hope you guys can...
Oh,
okay. Yeah, on just the mine. And I hope you guys can stick around. We have some some folks with Black Hills Council Local Governments here today that's going to go, and it's not set up to be interactive with the public. It's more for our information, but I think there'll be some good information for you guys to be here, to listen to. Does there anybody else have public comment? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Matt Thompson, Fire Chief, North Haines Fire Department. With me, I've got Assistant Chief Rick Hewling. I sent you all a letter. I thought it went through a couple weeks ago, but apparently it must have gotten bounced in some emails, which happens. Just voicing our concerns as a department on the condition of North Haines Avenue and the fact that we've had 2 very significant crashes on that road, one resulting in a double fatality and another one resulting in some very significant injuries, all directly related to the condition of the road there. Yes, the first one, speed, was without a doubt a factor in that accident. However, it's clear that they're hitting that bad spot right before Peterson Road and causing people to go off the road. We appreciate that the county is planning on replacing that road this year. The sooner the better. If they can, I don't know what you can do to push your contractor to get it going, but we are having serious accidents in that area. And just putting signs up that say rough road and putting cones out is clearly not doing anything. It's causing some significant problems. And every time we're responding to calls up there, we have to be prepared for that road, be prepared for the condition of the road. And then when we have those crashes there, like this last one was a prime example, we had residents of that area just coming and screaming down our throats. It's like, well, there's nothing we can do about this. We're the fire department, but having their concerns, I was like, okay, I will at least write a letter to the commission, to the highway department, voicing our concerns, because yes, there is a genuine concern with the condition of the road in that area. And I know you guys are aware of this, and you're doing something about it, but whatever can be done to make it get moving faster for the road replacement would be great. And then whatever that, we'd like to know what the plan is for us to have continued access through that area during construction, because that obviously is a main thoroughfare for us to get to everything off of kind of the Elk Creek, Golden Valley, Creek Meadows area. Yes, we can detour back to Elkvale and back around, but 4 miles detouring can definitely have a difference on how that call will go if we have to go 2 miles to the east to Elkvale north and then 2 miles back to the west to get back over to, or 4 miles, I guess, to get over to the Haines Avenue side. And then the only other thing I wanted to say is I greatly appreciate the fact that you're going to enact a burn ban today. That is very huge. I know every time that we even get like the slightest bit of any sort of precipitation, people are calling wanting to burn. I got a phone call, here a month or 2 ago from a resident just over the county line in Meade County. They were upset that the burn ordinance was in effect that day because it was a very high fire danger day. And she was pretty upset the fact that, well, it's raining, why can't I burn? And I flat out told her, I'm sorry, that's what the ordinance says. Even though it says that, we could rescind that within our area, I will tell you at this point, our department will not rescind any burn ban for any length of time, anytime soon. We've been seeing pretty significant fires every day. We had crews out basically all week last week between the Rockerville area down into Argyle.
We're getting up on your time, Mr. Thompson.
But thank you guys for what you're doing and whatever you can do to make Haines Avenue better, faster. Please let us know.
Appreciate it. Mr. Hewling, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I'd just like to add on to what Matt said. I mean, if they're not going to start that construction for months, it would be nice to see some patchwork done up there just to make that area safer.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted, as far as the burn ban goes, we've got that on the agenda today. Technically, according to the ordinance, we are under a burn ban, just that since we went into high fire danger. But I felt the necessity to add that possibly as much for advertisement as anything. I'm going to turn this over to Commissioner Liggett. He's the highway liaison. And I do want you, before you leave today, if you catch up with Troy Eastman. He's the highway department, because I think it's going to be important when we get to working on that road for there to be coordination between you guys and him as far as getting emergency vehicles out and access to fires and stuff. Commissioner Liggett.
So my understanding is Haines will start construction in May, which is just over a month away. Don't know what part of May that is. They are having a pre-construction meeting coming up We have been looking for hot mix instead of the cold mix in there, but I think Troy did find some other binding material that should bind that cold mix that's in there, the millings that are in there, and we're going to try that method as well. We did lower the speed limit to 35 on that road in that whole bottom section. Nobody's obeying those speed limits. I agree. I had an interesting call with a gentleman. I have a motorcycle license myself. If I'm driving through the canyon and I see a sign that says 35 and it's posted at 65, do I just stay 65 or go down to the cautionary 35? Obvious answer is through a canyon, you drop your speed. Obvious answer on that road apparently is to hop lanes. So it's unfortunate. I agree. It is a challenge for us as well. And I'm not trying to say that it's not a problem. We understand that it is. During construction, the intent of that road is to keep one lane open. When we did Elkvale on that construction, we shut the road down entirely. That was not the same approach on this one's, mainly because of the traffic count, I believe. Not saying that's not going to happen. There's probably an opportunity once or twice in that whole process, and obviously depending on whether or not that's going to get shut down. It is a long detour, and people need to understand that we are not an interstate or a DOT. We can shut the road down. We can have detours that do go out as far as Elkvale or back to the interstate. So we are doing our best in those methods to make sure that the people can get around. But obviously make sure that you get in touch with Troy and so that you guys and Western have that communication, because you guys are responding. So, and we appreciate all of the things that you're doing. Fires have been great. So.
And I want to say, as far as the burn ban, I believe Meade County in the past has generally been a leader in instituting a burn ban even ahead of the other counties. But with that, I would like Sheriff Pat West, since he's here, to come up a minute, please. Pat, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you probably know what I'm going to ask you. We realize that there's been 2 serious accidents on that roadway. We don't like accidents on any roadway, be it an interstate or a county road or a city street. There's plenty of accidents down there on Omaha Street and Catron Boulevard, which are right in the middle of town. Pat, will you tell what you've told me was the primary cause of accident of that first fatality?
Yeah, I think the fire chief had explained that, but the first one was definitely speed. And the second one, it could be a combination of the road and also the ability to ride.
Okay. Would you be more specific as far as what the computer showed the speed was?
And obviously the trooper report has it, but it's in excess of 100 miles an hour.
Yes. Would you say that would be a pretty hard way for the average driver to handle or maneuver a car on any kind of a highway?
Yeah, that'd be a fair statement. Yeah, okay. Obviously, going that fast is dangerous for anyone on a normal road. So yeah. Yeah, a terrible, unfortunate, and you have had. I can remember seeing some Facebook posts where you have issued more than one citation for people traveling excessive speeds on that road, haven't you? Yeah, we've been out there quite a bit between North Haines and North Elkvale and issued several citations based on speed. Well, and
I think that would be a great road to patrol and for people to also observe the 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. We'll do whatever we can. And if worse comes to worse, I guess we can just detour the road.
Thank you, Mr. Hewling and Mr. Thompson, for coming in today. I appreciate what you guys do for the fire department in the county. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Not, I'm going to close public comment at this time. Let's bring us down to anyone here from the Register of Deeds office. State's Attorney's office, have any report? Treasurer's office.
Good morning, Commissioners. Robin Shrake, Meade County Treasurer. On the screen, you will see the KPI for February and year-to-date compared to last year. A couple of things that are happening down at the Treasurer's office. The state of South Dakota is starting to scan the motor vehicle titles, all the other necessary stuff in order to process that. We have not started it here in Meade County. They are starting it in Lawrence and Pennington County, so they're underway with it. I do have IT department ready to go on this. So they're ready to install all the necessary software for us to incorporate that in with 605 Drive. We are getting down to the final countdown of assessment freezes. I don't have a total count right now. We're working those as we speak. We're getting a lot of them in the mail. So we'll have those numbers for you here in the near future. We are also getting a lot of phone calls with property taxes, of course. With everything going on with the governor passing the bills, everybody's thinking that they're going to be seeing that adjustment this year. Of course, it won't be. It will be next year. Any questions that you might have on?
Well, no, I'd be careful. I'm not even sure it's going to be next year.
Okay.
Because we're going to have to pass an ordinance. Then the Department of Revenue has like a 6-month lag before they allow us to actually start collecting. And so we won't even start to collect. I think the absolute earliest to be January. And they only start collecting like on January 1 or July 1. So the earliest we can even start collecting is going to be January 1. So, and my guess would be then it'll be credit for the next year. So
for the 2027 payable and
28, yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
don't be telling people they're going to see it even next year.
Okay.
And I think, to my knowledge, Ken, just if you'd come forward, please. Just as much as anything, correct me if I'm wrong, statute obviously doesn't take effect till July 1.
Correct.
And so therefore, it's of your opinion that we can't even discuss the ordinance coming up until after July 1.
Correct. We could implement July 2.
But it could be discussed to set the hearing. We could set the hearing before July 1, but before we can even talk about the ordinance would be July 1, the soonest.
Before it could be adopted. I mean, you can have a conversation at any meeting that you want, because it is upcoming, but
So
you can't take any official action on it until after July 1.
We could pass the second reading on July 1?
Well, yeah, so
First.
you
Go
could,
ahead.
well, yeah, I
My
differ a
preference.
bit on that. I think it
And I
only
don't think the
become
timeline is
effective
going to make
July
any
1.
difference.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference because the Department of Revenue only allows you increased sales tax on July 1 or January 1. And yet you have to give them a 90-day lead time before they institute. So even if we pass it July 1, then they won't let you start to institute it until January 1.
And they also, that's my point, is we can't go into effect. And then they need that, as Commissioner Wyzorek pointed out, that lag time of 90 days at least, I believe. And so it's the possibility of getting it passed. And obviously we need to look at that information. We haven't even looked at it as a commission.
Yeah, I mean, we're still waiting for some of that information to come out, hoping the Department of Revenue will provide some guidance and maybe some standard forms.
And it's my expectation that they're going to do suggestions for ordinance, since it is statewide.
But we will need to have it in place and inform the department no later than October 1 if we're going to want to start collecting January 1.
Right.
You'll have to enact it in September so that we can give notification prior to October 1.
Right. Thank you for that.
And there's time for that, and then, of course, if it gets referred, that presents a different problem.
Yeah, we have to act it no later than, it has to be on the books no later than October 1.
And as I recall from the DOR estimates, it would only have a 12% impact, right? That's what they estimated.
I think that's what the governors, when you...
That's the governor's page, yeah.
Who knows? I mean, it's all, who knows?
Yeah, but I think the moral of the story is be very careful telling anybody when this is going to occur.
Yeah, understood.
Because, number one, we have to pass it. Number two, as noted by the chair, we have to, or it doesn't get referred. And number three, then we have a timing issue. So if we don't, even if it gets referred and gets voted in, there's still a timing issue where the department will probably then push it to July 1. So, of 2027.
Well, and it's no different than the confusion that has existed from the last property tax legislative change.
3% cap.
Yeah. Which was just mainly a headline.
So nonetheless, yeah, there's more to come. I guess, like that's, as Commissioner Wysorick said, that's the moral, is there'll be some time before it gets implemented. Any other questions for the treasurer?
Robin, do you have all the equipment that you need for scanning?
Yes, we do.
Getting it all hooked up at some point?
Yes. When we implemented 605 Drive, Tony and I worked together well and have everything ready to go. So we've been basically scanning everything that we needed to. We just need the hand scanners that we can use now on the cards that they mail out. But that's the only thing that we have to install.
And this was going to fix some of the issues with the state then?
No, this is a whole new thing, isn't it?
Yeah. We're trying to get I think the whole mindset on this is to have all the title work in the system where they can start looking at it and right away, rather than waiting for the hard copies to come into their office. They can start.
And I believe along with this, if I recall right, these provisions gave more duties to the local county treasurer's offices, but gave an increase in the fee to the state of South Dakota for their work. The county does the work, the state gets the pay.
And we actually shortened the county hours of to the public so that we could keep up with some of that work.
Absolutely. And the overtime.
And so then oftentimes state legislators wonder how come it costs more money to run county government, but they continue to give more responsibilities to counties and take more money from them. I guess I'm done.
Any other questions for the treasurer? Hey, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Let's move down to C on our agenda, which is Black Hills Council Local Governments. We have some ladies that came in today. It's going to give us some information on zoning. Appreciate you coming in today.
Good morning, Jennifer.
Oh.
There we go. Good morning, Commissioners. Jennifer Siepsma, Executive Director with Black Hills Council of Local Governments. We are the regional planning district for Western South Dakota. And Rhea had asked if I could come in and just discuss with you the process and a timeline, which I'm going to use that, these aren't going to be exact today, but a timeline for what it would look like going through the special district zoning process. And so, obviously, you've had your people here from your citizens who have brought the map that they need to submit to the county, and that's really the starting process. I did base the timeline as if that map was ready to go today. But as Talbot mentioned, following those precinct lines is going to make their job easier when it goes to collecting signatures for the people and also for the county to be able to come up with the qualified voters list. The other thing that I noticed about the map is that it includes the municipal areas. Those will need to be backed out of the map. Special zoning is not allowed for municipal areas. If you look at 11.237, it specifically says areas within a county and not within a municipality. So those will need to be backed out or made white or just somehow made so that the citizens and the people who are interested in this topic know that those would not be part of the voter registry or the qualified voters list. So from there, after they have submitted the verified map to the county, there's a 20-day time frame minimum for the public to be able to review that map. It needs to be placed in the special zoning district. So sometimes on other matters, you might have the map kept at the auditor's office, but in this case, you're going to need to find a way to post that in areas, I would say throughout the county, because your proposed special zoning district goes all the way out to Box Elder. So those people, that would be impacted in that area shouldn't have to drive all the way over here. And technically, the county offices aren't located in that special zoning district. So once you have those posted, your 20-day time frame, I put that as, basically going from till about April 21st is when that that 20-day wait would be done, and then you can move into the next step, which after the map has been made available for 20 days, the county has to determine those qualified voters so they can take a look at the precincts and get that qualified voters list. That work with the county can coincide with the 20-day time frame, but it's going to be a lot of work, especially if the lines don't follow those precincts, because I think they're matching up 3 different information systems trying to get that list together. So I did give a little bit of a liberal time frame, just knowing that they have other work with the regular election going on right now. I gave them a 2-week window. I don't know if that's doable or not, but so once they have that qualified voters list, they can give that to the citizen-led group for them to go out and start collecting signatures. For a special zoning district, 1/3 of the qualified voters is required for signatures for the petition. So I'd asked kind of roughly what those numbers would look like. On the low side, it looks like maybe 2,700. I know, and it'll change now. I was asking her where she didn't have the verified map, so it's hard for her to do anything and know what those numbers are if the lines on the map are changing. So that work really can't start until the map is the actual map. On the high side, it looked like maybe 4,300 signatures would be needed. Again, this is a little bit higher threshold than you would see for a regular initiative because 1/3 of the qualified voters is needed. So obviously, the larger the special zoning district, the more signatures are needed. I did give, and again, I don't know how quickly that can be done. Getting people to sign a petition is easier when there's a community of people. In this case, you have people outside city limits that you're looking for, and across, I don't know, is it 20 miles, 30 miles? So again, I don't know how you go about collecting those signatures. I gave them 2 months to do that work. If that work started May 1st and ended July 1st, that's when the county then would have your next action that needs to take place. And so they've collected the, let's just say, 2,700 signatures on the low side. Then you have to go into validating those signatures. I gave the county, again, I gave them 2 weeks because that would end right around, if they went May 1st to July 1st, you've got the July 4th holiday. I'm sure you've got some other stuff going on in there because I know the county has, busy times of year. 2 weeks to validate all those signatures. 2,700 signatures is a lot of signatures, and having to validate each of those can take some time. So, I don't know, maybe it can be done in 2 days. I have no idea. All hands on deck. And then from there, once those have been validated, then it can come to the very next commissioner meeting. So if that was done before July 14th, it could be considered at that meeting. If it went to July 16th, then you would be looking at the July 28th commission meeting. And at that point, you would be able to, if the commissioners accept the signatures as adequate and correct, you can then schedule the election. A couple things that would have to also take place when you're scheduling the election is the state's attorney would need to prepare the ballot question, the election workers organized, ballots printed. You would have to appoint 3 judges that can be commissioners or other people for the election. Again, can some of that work be completed while those signatures are being collected? Maybe, but then the county will have invested time into doing that work, and if they're never able to get all of the signatures, you've invested county time into something that wouldn't go anywhere. So again, I gave 30 days. I don't know how long it takes for state's attorney to write the question and to basically organize your election. I don't know if it can be done in 30 days, but I figured that was a logical timeline. So if you set the election date, then at the July 28th meeting, I think you would be looking at a September timeline for your special election. I just put September 12th, kind of working through the steps. That will obviously you'll have to do the 10-day public notice, and then your special election does have to be scheduled within 60 days. Interesting, there is some gray area. So South Dakota doesn't have, I don't think, any special zoning districts. It's allowed by law, but on the eastern side of the state, they're entirely zoned. So they don't really have the option. And then out here, our counties that don't have zoning just don't have zoning. So I think you might be one of one in going through this process, and that's okay. So there's areas of state law that I feel like, I don't know, you'd have to sort it out. So when somebody brings a special election, if it's within 90 days of a regular election, like the November election, which this would be, unless you could somehow get it outside, then you could get all of this done before August, which I think would be very hard to do. Then it wouldn't get pushed back. But I think there is maybe some justification. I don't know if you're required absolutely to do that within the 60 days, or if now you're in that 90-day window, can it go on your regular election? And the reason I bring that up is obviously there's a cost to having a special election. That's going to cost you or the taxpayers money. So just wanted you to be aware of that. You're going to have your regular 10-day notice. Has to be published, which your election people already know of that. And really, you're going to have that information for the absentee ballots long before that. So yeah, it's not exactly clear. You're going to have some, you're going to have people in county government really paying attention to those deadlines and working it backwards from when the election date is set and making sure that they're meeting those deadlines. And obviously, there is going to be a heavy lift on some of your offices adding a special election, but obviously it's the right of the voters to have that. So the one thing I want to make really clear is if this passes, say you even were able to do an election in August, if you could blow it out of the water, get all of this done by August or September, nothing changes in your county. Even if it passes, nothing changes until you, the county, have adopted rules for the special zoning district. At the soonest that I can see you getting through that process if you follow the same process, and again, it's not specifically identified in the special zoning district law, I would suggest as the county you follow the same thing that you do for regular zoning. 60 days is the shortest from if on the day this vote was canvassed and passed, you had your rules already ready, which again, that's going to require you to be working on something before you even know that the vote. If not, 60 days is the soonest you would be able to have rules in place for that special zoning district. So nothing really is going to change on this, and you're not going to be regulating anything until you've approved your rules for that special zoning district. 60 days in a county that has never had zoning, I think there's going to be a lot of public comment on what are your rules going to be. What are you doing for setbacks? What are your zones? What are you regulating? You've never had that before. In a county that already has setbacks, already has industry, already has commercial districts, that's a little easier. I would be confident that we could help you get some rules in 60 days. I'm not confident that we could get you rules in 60 days and approved in 60 days. So I guess what I'm telling you is even if this vote passed in September and you were ready to go, you're really looking at November, December, best case timeline before anything changes. And so I guess I just want it to be very clear that if the intent of the special zoning district was specifically to keep out a mine, one specific mine, I think you've missed the boat on that.
Oh. You're done or
go for it.
Well, I mean, I'm not. Having gone through zoning before and developed a zoning plan just for a small town, I'm not even sure how you can do that time frame because you have to develop a map, which basically has to map out what everything's going to be zoned. You then have to come up with all the different types of zoning you're going to do, everything that's allowed, everything that's a conditional use, everything. I mean, you can take something off the shelf, but the more zones you have, the more issues you have with your mapping, the more issues and the more input you're going to get. And
so the 60-day time frame would be if the county decided we don't have our rules in place, we're just going to place a moratorium on any kind of building in the area. I feel like that would be likely for the 60-day time frame. And the reason I say that is when you draft a zoning ordinance or rules for this, again, there's going to be, it doesn't say specifically in state law, but I think you're going to have to follow what you would follow for zoning, or you're going to get yourself in trouble. So I do feel like those public hearings are going to be required, and I think what comes out of those public hearings is going to be incredibly important for you all to make your decision.
So there's a differentiation here. Your 60 days assumes we've already drafted everything. Essentially.
Really, yeah, because it's 60 days for adoption with the timelines required through getting through planning and zoning and the regular commission and public hearings and public notices.
Right, because the law reads that you can have a public hearing, but then you have to have a public hearing on your proposed drafts too. I mean, it's a lot more work than just the 60 days, and I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned, and I've not looked at this, and I'm not asking you to give me an answer, but if once it passes, the zoning passes, we'll have a zoning district with no zoning rules. So my question is then legally, can we issue building permits during that time period until we have rules? Or it's something I've never looked at, I'm familiar with most cities, if you annex in, those are considered no-zoned areas in a zoning area where they won't give you building permits until it's been zoned. So I don't know how that plays here as to whether it's still, we just operate as business as usual until the rules are in place, or how's that work?
I think you would have to, I know this is not popular in a lot of places, but I think you would have to place a moratorium on building permits in the special zoning area, which is, it's going to impact a lot of your developing areas as they're defined in your comp plan. I think you would have to do that to get your rules in place. Otherwise, I think you're going to have issues.
Yeah, or the question would be, that's my question, and probably something we're going to have to look at, because do we have to have the rules in place, or can we operate under status quo while we develop the rules, or does the fact they established the zoning district require us to have rules to allow the issuance of building permits?
I think you're that second is the right way.
Yeah, so if we're going to pursue something like this, or if they go to election, it might be prudent for the county to pass an ordinance or have an ordinance ready to go that basically says anything goes anywhere in the zoning while we develop these rules. Otherwise, we're going to be freezing building permits for several months.
Yeah, or maybe even a year. We just did a zoning ordinance for a community. We did 16 in-person meetings as we worked through that, and they were a community that already had zoning, and it took all of 12 months.
Yeah, and the reason I'm bringing some of this up is there's a lot of moving parts in this, and I don't want anybody to get caught by surprise after this election. and I don't, including us. So
yeah, assuming that you get all the signatures, again, that 1/3 threshold is higher than what is normally needed. And so collecting those signatures are only good, I think, for 6 months. So whoever's leading the charge on that needs to make sure that they get all of those signatures.
It's a threshold. It's a larger threshold, but given the activity, I'm not sure it's going to be as hard as some issues.
Okay.
Probably the hardest thing, having circulated some petitions my day, is just getting to central points where people are coming and going, that you get efficient time to get those. But like any petition process, it's a matter of having your people organized. But I see it as achievable. So those are my questions. Those are my concerns. I just want to make sure that, the law of unintended consequences doesn't catch us. So.
Yeah, and as much as I guess if the county is hopeful for a favorable vote, it would be nice if some of those steps could be done in tandem, or that they would coincide and line up. But I just feel like most counties don't have a lot of extra staff with extra time.
We don't have any extra staff.
Yeah, so
we're short, if anything.
So I just feel like it's hard to.
One thing I want to clarify, as the county commission, at least you're not favorable or unfavorable to anything going for election. It's not our position to be that. But if it's going to election, even if I'm not favoring it passing or not favoring it passing, it's still my job to make sure it doesn't cause unintended consequences, no matter which way it goes. So that's more of my concern, is to make sure that I'm not advocating for or against everybody at this point. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't cause problems for other people.
Yeah, and I don't know if people understand, like, all of the just discussion that happens, when you're talking about the zone specifically, but then the setbacks and then the permitted and conditional uses, what you're going to allow and not allow, and then just prohibited uses. There's those discussions, and they're typically open to the public. They can take a lot of time to do a good job at it. So if we're leading you through the process and we're collecting all the public input, we're going to want to make sure that what you're getting is what you want, is the desirable outcome. So
I appreciate it.
Having been around during the first attempt, it was over a year for 5 square miles. We did have public hearings. We had public hearings both during the day as well as in the evening. They started at 7 o'clock at night. They ran until the next day, way in excess of midnight. The room was packed. It happened a couple of times. Sorry about that. There will be a lot of dialogue. Also, it was difficult to get first reading of anything because there were so many differing views that everything kept going back for rewrites and changes and everything. And I think something else that needs to be added to this time frame is these 3 aren't going to be here after January.
Sure.
So if this goes past January, guys,
you're starting over.
We're starting all over. And, I'm not saying that this is an impossible job, but it takes a little time to get up to speed on learning all these new processes.
And we've had that in many of our planning processes where you have a change in council or commission, and bringing them up to speed is obviously our job to do if we're tasked with writing it.
And we will make use of that.
The one thing I would say, that I worry about a little bit for the county is if you end up moving forward with a special zoning district, you still leave in a huge part of the county completely unprotected, especially your ag. So if you have people in the county that want to preserve ag, they would be completely unprotected for the next big thing that wants to come in and land and needs a lot of space. And I understand maybe they were the biggest opponents in the previous discussions, but as people start finding that we have land and an abundance of it, I would guess that if you have no zoning in those areas, that's going to be one of the first places they look. And I would worry about your ag folks not even having an opportunity for a public hearing. If you go forward with just special zoning, they might feel like you left them out in the cold. But maybe not.
And we got to be clear here. What's happening now is petition driven. So I don't want people thinking that we as a commissioner right now are pushing the zoning forward, which, as you explained, with the petition-driven process, we will have to comply with statutes as far as that comes forward. So it's not. There is a process for the commission-driven, and I want to ask you some about that as well. What would obviously it's a new thing, so it hasn't been done before except for in Meade County when it was referred. But what if it would come the other way and it would be commission-driven, either or for a special zoning district, or in your experience with zoning, what is a timeline? We're probably talking about the same amount of time or maybe even longer?
A little shorter, actually. So petition, if the commissioners bring this, it's just a resolution. So the petition isn't required, and I think that is a big part of the timeline here. So the month or 2 months that it takes to get those signatures, you can just by resolution, the commissioners can just bring this by resolution, and it's going to cut down the timeline. You're still going to have the advertising requirements, but it's going to cut down the timeline.
Well, you still have to develop the rules.
Yeah,
public
that's the rules.
Yes. I'm talking about the special election. So rather than having, I kind of put this out to August, September timeframe, depending on what they could do. If you're not having to validate signatures, I gave 2 weeks to that, and then collecting the signatures was 2 months. So you might be looking at a special election as early as June if you do. I don't think you can't meet the timelines for the regular election, but end of June, beginning of July.
That would be on a referral, though, correct? Does the commission bring it forward? Does it take an election?
No.
Oh, I mean, the commission could do it by
resolution.
You do a resolution setting the boundaries. Then, if that's not referred, then you would establish.
Yes.
Then you'd have to go through the regular zoning process.
So the process you're using, or the citizen-led process, is the only one that can't be referred.
Process. And that's my point. The point is, it could take about the same amount of time. Is the point I'm making, and the commission driving it would be at risk for referral because the citizen-driven one is not. It cannot be referred. So there'd be two things at risk for referral. One, if the citizens truly want it, it could get voted down.
Right.
And two, an special election could cost us $100,000. Is that a fair guess, Rhea, from the last one we've done? So there is risk to a referral. So basically, the timeline is essentially the same. Was my question. Is that true, Ms. Sietsma?
I didn't work through the
numbers. And I understand.
Yeah,
it's not a fair
because that wasn't really
question.
what we were.
I understand.
It is a different process entirely, and I think that is a really important point that you're making. Is the process is different if it's commissioner initiated versus citizen-led.
And that's basically my point. Is yes, the process is different, but there's people that have the impression that it could be done faster, and according to statute, it does look like it could be done faster.
But then it will get referred.
It would, with the referral, it's going to take some time to do all that. Either way we do this is going to take time, and it does have a risk of a referral. But my next question, which is essentially the same question, this is a little more fair of a question because you have done this work. In your experience, just zoning, when a local government comes forward with zoning, what is the timeline been in your experience? I'm sure it can vary, but from when the local government reaches out to Black Hills Council and says, hey, we'd like to implement some zoning, would you help us? from that day to the day that it's implemented, what's the basic timeline on that?
Yeah, and that's, we usually give ourselves in the scope of work that we provide 12 months for the drafting, and that is meeting with your planning commission to get all those rules written. If you have an idea of something you already want, so let's just say you have a neighboring county and you're like, we want to do almost exactly what they're doing, or we like what they're doing, that can shorten it down, but we give 12 months for drafting, but then the adoption process, again, is that 60 days. So, and really what happens is you'll have a planning commission that works really hard on it, or, commissioners being involved, and you get to the point where you have a document that you feel like is adequate or good for your county, and then the public hearings occur, and you get valuable or reasonable feedback from the public, and so at that point they can do a public hearing at the planning and zoning. Planning and zoning can make a decision: are we going to recommend it for approval to the county commission, or are we going to go back and address the things that the public had? So you can get bounced back and forth for 4 to 6 months on that, just with advertising the public hearings and first reading and stuff. So so I would say 16 to 18 months is reasonable if you want to do a good job and do something that really meets the needs of your county.
And 60 days would be best case, because that'd be very wishful thinking. I can't recall since I've been on the board an ordinance that it's only
60
taken
days
60 days.
The shortest amount of time if you had something ready at the time of the advertising. So if you had a document ready at the time, it takes 60 days to get through the state legal process for public hearings, public notices, and adoption, and first reading and second reading. It takes 60 days.
You're saying if we had a document ready,
yes,
and this room filled up, and everyone in this room said we love everything that's written in it, then it would take 60 days, is what you're saying. That's my point.
Yes.
Because
so 60 days is the adoption timeline in state law when you do public notices, public hearings, first and second reading, and then publication in 20 days for it.
Because we've never had a first reading on an ordinance that everyone loved what was said in that ordinance for the first.
It's the absolute. I wanted to bring some hope and joy today, but
well, we need and the timeline is what we needed for our information. I think there's folks in the audience as well needed that. I think they've gotten some valuable information. My next question is on the posting of the map. You said it has to be within the zoned area. However, municipalities are not within the zoned area, so therefore that would bring a problem up. I could see posting it at Somerset City Hall, Piedmont City Hall, Box Elder City Hall, which would be local centralized, but it doesn't sound like statute allows that.
I think in the past you guys have used billboards out located, and maybe I think on some of these in the past you used, because you have to post it in the area of the special zone district. I don't think there's anything saying you couldn't have it there, but you have to have it
also be.
Yes, on a
Thank you.
on a billboard.
Okay, I didn't know if you meant we couldn't or not.
It would seem to make sense you would post it at the rural fire halls and things like that. Blacksburg, they have a posting spot if they had posted there, and then Blackhawk, you can post it in a couple spots for sure. Make one of those spots probably your official spot to make sure it stays.
Yep.
But you'd want to probably get it out there as far as possible. But there's places you could get it out to the public, I think.
I was just wanting to make sure that it could be posted in some of those areas.
Yeah, having worked with some smaller districts, generally you can always find. I mean, they post them next to mailboxes sometimes. So I think that's possible.
Any other questions from Ms. Seesma?
I have a couple. The question on the petition has to match the question on the ballot. Is that correct? So working through and making sure that the question, if it does go to the petitions with all the signatures, that question needs to be something that's acceptable to be on the ballot for voting on.
I'd say that's more election. Who are election people? I didn't go through all of the election stuff. I just figured you would handle it like your other election stuff. So I'm assuming that's correct, though. It would be confusing otherwise.
My other one is on the 1/3 count, the number of people. That does not include the municipality areas, right?
It's going to be the state law says your qualified voters or qualified registered voters. So again, that's going to go back to your map, and then I think Director of Equalization or somebody is going to marry those two and get and I think there's one more app that has to happen, but you're basically aligning your voter registries with what's in the map minus your municipal areas. So those people don't get to vote. If you live in a municipality, you cannot vote on this.
Which is a change from the past election. In the past election, the municipalities voted.
Well,
I know
it was different because
right,
you did
right.
It was
they
a county
changed the
referral
legislature.
and
yeah,
the laws changed slightly.
2011 is when 11237 was last updated. I don't know exactly what the nature of those changes, but the other thing would be, I don't know how many of those areas were zoned or municipalities. I know.
Well, it was just that one area down in Piedmont,
okay.
and zoning did not even cover in the cities that had zoning.
So the 1/3 of the people that have voted, now that's based on the last gubernatorial election, right? So that does not affect, it would be, if they were collecting signatures during this election, does that change the number of votes or signatures that they have to have?
I would say that's a great Ken question.
Yeah, I actually think this, isn't it 1/3 of the qualified voters? It's
Qualified
a different
voters.
standard here than you do for elections.
So just of the qualified voters,
Yes,
not on
the statute's different.
Yeah, for initiated and referrals, it is based on gubernatorial votes.
But
this is not.
Okay.
So this is just 1/3 of the qualified voters.
Mr. Chair, I would also like to say that I'm not hanging my hat that an election would cost $100,000.
I understand. Yes.
I know that it would be tens of thousands of dollars,
Yes.
but I don't know the exact cost.
I understand. I was just I asked you, the reason I asked is we have had some special elections and referrals, and I was just, for a guideline. I mean, it could be 50 and it could be 100.
Well, and that,
50 would be minimal.
I haven't read these statutes, but they kind of seem to apply that you can do it like you would do a district where you could have just one voting spot too. But we'd have to take a look at that.
Is there any other questions for Ms. Seatsma while she's here? Not, I think. Thank
How
you
much lead time would you need in order to get this on your agenda? Because you might tell the audience here that you do not have a staff of hundreds.
You're right. So and you may have to contract with somebody other than us. We're usually the most economical, but we also can be slower because of that. I only have really myself and one other staff who does planning and zoning type work. We do have a staff of 4 people, including myself, and as director, it's not always, I'd say my job too, but I do fill in on the planning and zoning side when we have needs. We do currently have a queue, and so you wouldn't be first because we have other communities waiting on comp plan and zoning stuff.
And that would be if the zoning area would pass, and we would look to you to help us develop the rules.
I mean, I can put you in my queue, and then if it fails, we would be on our list, but you would still be behind those other communities that have requested planning and zoning services. And I would love to be able to be quicker. We're just not because we're so small.
Sure.
But again, I want the public to understand there is 4 of you for basically western South Dakota.
9 counties and 21 municipalities.
Right. And I forget. You got like 100 projects right now, right? Tell me, I don't remember the color code.
I think we're at 152 contracts,
okay.
But not all of those are planning and zoning. Not all of them are.
Yeah. But you 4 people are working one way or the other on this. What I'm saying is, no way are we at the top of the list.
I can put you in the queue.
Thank you, Miss. I don't think there's any other.
I just one point. It's not even so much for you, but one of the other issues and one of the reasons these meetings take so long, as opposed to just an ordinance, you're providing a map that's zoning everybody's property. So you get a lot of people coming in and saying, hey, my 20 acres there should not be zoned Class 2 residential. It should be zoned town commercial or something like that, or highway commercial. So you get a lot of input on where people are saying, you've misjudged what my property is currently being used for and what its best use is. So that's one of the reasons you get these long meetings, because there's a lot of input that you get there, not just your ordinance should say this, it's also just, here's my little piece of property that, and so you get a lot of that comment too. So that's just an added layer of commentary and time that takes. That's one of the reasons you get these 10-hour meetings. So,
any other questions? Well, thank you for coming in today, and I think it's a good time to take a break. And like as I mentioned to you guys before with the mine and your petition going forward, I wish you luck in what you're doing. I appreciate it's a grassroots effort, and just as we've talked before, and the importance of getting it right, because it's if the petition's off, and it's tough to be in this chair and to look at the petition say it's off for some legal matter. So just make sure we get it right. So.
The one thing too I'd say is it's a complicated process, but it's complicated in a way by the legislature so people have a voice and their property doesn't get, their use of property doesn't get taken. I appreciate see some of you coming, because my whole thing is I want to communicate how complicated the process is. But it's appropriately complicated because what you're putting restrictions on people's lands, but it doesn't mean I think it should not be done. It simply means that I don't want your expectations to be it can be done overnight, which early in this a lot of people are asserting we could just pass a resolution and it would be over. I want to make people clear of the process and the time and the commitment, both for you and then for your county commission and the staff. If we have to do this, there's just we don't have extra staff here, but there's a time component.
Let's take a little break before I go on to the rest of the agenda. So. Brings us to Sheriff's Office.
Everybody's gone.
Oh, they're just afraid of you, Pat.
You know, I thought Mr. Duprell was coming today.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, Sheriff Pat West. Don't have a whole lot of info. Just want to highlight a couple things when it comes to our calls for service. This one, I think they're going to level off. They don't. They keep going up. So they're quite a bit higher than what they were
escalating
last month. Yes. And then also the our civil paperwork is on fire. You can see we had 163 there.
What kind of are they divorce? Are they foreclosure? Are they?
It's the whole gamut: foreclosures, garnishments, executions, property sales, houses. I think we've got 4 houses up for sale in the next month.
Mortgage foreclosures?
Yes, that type of stuff. Just people not paying their bills and getting in trouble.
Part of that's probably driven by the fact COVID pushed a lot of this stuff that is still working its way through the system, and the courts are still catching up a bit.
I could see that. Yeah, quite a bit. Outside of that, not much else. Taking a lot of calls on debris, like Commissioner Liggett is as well. With the high winds, just need to remind people to fence in their garbage and fence in their construction equipment as best as possible, because it ends up in the neighbors' yards, causes problems.
And if they see something that has blown from their site, or just general maintenance of their site, please go out and pick it up.
Yes.
I mean, it's everybody's duty to pick up trash.
Yeah, agreed.
Our neighborhood is always busy doing that for someone.
Also, a few calls reference the noises at the shooting range. I know you all have been receiving some of those. We have been as well, just trying to keep track of those, trying to forward a lot of those to GF&P.
Okay, I did have a conversation with Game Fish and Parks. They are working on a contract. I did see the contract. It's not signed yet, so this is until it's signed. It's kind of up in the air. They have 8 sites identified, 6 sites on site, and then 2 sites off site for a 14-day recording period. So they should get some good numbers. That goes back into the ordinance. If there's any issues with that, then mitigation efforts will follow. So.
Okay, explain to me what you're talking about as far as your sites. Are you saying areas, sites not associated with the gun range, or?
So our ordinance, our permit requirement for that, for the gun range, they had to have 68 decibels or less at the nearest residence. The nearest residence is 0.68 miles away. So Game Fish and Parks will put a monitor, I believe, at that location, and also to the north, I think. I don't know how far up there, but also I think there's 4 around the edge of the facility, and then 2 controls within the facility, likely by some of the bays, to meet those.
I know we also had the time element. Are they shooting outside the allowed times?
No, to my knowledge,
okay.
There is a range master out there. They open actually after the permitted time and close before that. They do have range lights on, I think, until 9. I asked why sometimes they're on at night, and the timer was messed up. So I think they've addressed some of those issues. But yeah, nobody's out there shooting off hours. They're following all the rules. I believe that the number of concerns on site have been very low. A couple calls, I think they brought somebody in. Maybe you guys up, but they're getting between 600 and 700 people a week through the facility, so quite a little traffic through there. I don't notice the range from my place, and I'm 5.5 miles away, and I can see it from my place. So straight shot, and maybe it's because I'm getting old and deaf, but that is a possibility. So.
Was the youngest guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you implying?
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
What? So, another thing on the range, just since we're talking about it, John Canta asked today if we had received the complaints about the appliances that had been dropped off out there. It was on Elkvale, and they offered to pick those up for us, so they are helping in that matter as well. I talked to Troy.
So you're talking about somebody just dumped old appliances in the ditch.
We get plenty of that in that area.
Yeah, well, yeah.
That area is famous, and in Elk Creek Road, right along there, in between Haynes and Elkvale, I've gotten several complaints from garbage blowing.
So kudos to the Game Fish and Parks for going out and picking up that stuff along there, our right away.
I have a dishwasher in my neighbor's front yard.
Quickly moving into the jail.
Thanks, Pat.
Jail numbers are self-explanatory there. Contracts went out to everyone that contract with our facility. Those numbers will start showing up in our April timeframe. Those went into effect March 1st, so we'll see the difference, hopefully, depending on the numbers. That's all I got except for surplus.
Yep.
Want to talk about that?
Go ahead. You got the appraisals done?
Yes, appraisals were completed on, and what these are AR rifles. There are different types of ARs that we had within the sheriff's office that we upgraded. So we'd like to get these surplused and taken care of. We have the 3 different evaluations there that are listed.
What's the it seems pretty low for an AR. What?
Yeah, they're M&Ps. The value on them aren't that high. Maybe $450, maybe.
And
that's just an estimate.
Yeah.
So you're not talking, 6-hour rifles. You're not talking Smith & Wesson rifles, things like that. So.
I noticed JJ was the cheapest, but I also wondered, and I should have asked this last week or 2 weeks ago, you don't want to just trade them into a federal gun dealer for credit or ammo?
That's the plan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to take these and work with
I'm sorry about that.
A couple different gun dealers and make that decision.
And that was the plan all along.
Yes, sir.
It was just when this came up, the surplus came up, you were gone that day, and I think to just make things easy, we just said get the item surplus or appraised. So, yep.
Yeah, the surplus has already been determined. At this point, the appraisal needs to be adopted if that's the board's choosing. We had the appraisals individually for the rifles and for the table, and as a group for the radios because they're not susceptible to individual sales. All of it is below the threshold, so we don't have to do public auctions. We can do what we want.
Yep.
I saw that. I just couldn't recall in the past that we did an appraisal when we traded them into a federal arms.
And that was the reason is we were certain that that's what Sheriff West wanted to do with it, but we weren't 100% sure. So we said, let's just have them everything on his list appraised.
Okay.
And so, because it didn't hurt anything to do it that way.
Yeah.
So that was the decision. So the motion was that day to just have everything on that list appraised.
Well, I remember that part, but I just couldn't remember why it was
That
different.
was why, is because typically we wouldn't do it. So we need to...
I wasn't paying attention.
We need to approve the appraisals, and is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the appraisals.
Second.
Motion is second to approve these appraisals. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Sheriff West.
Sure, you do need to do a specific resolution concerning the radios. When you're transferring to a governmental entity by statute, it is done by resolution.
Yeah, we gotta be able to look, because it just says fire departments there, but these need to be government. This needs to be like a government, right?
Correct.
So it has to go to a governmental agency. I think it should be.
Or public corporation, I think, is the other language.
Include that?
Yeah. Is that statute up there?
So that was the intent. Do you have people that are wanting these radios then?
Yes.
Okay, so then in order to do that then, Ken, what you're saying is we'll have to adopt a resolution so that won't be able to happen until next time?
No, you can do it here.
Hold on, I'll get it so you can read it, Ken.
Yeah, 613.4 is the statute.
Okay, now I'm going to ask another question. It was my understanding that, you know, when we had
talking to your mic.
When we had that outage in November, and none of us knew why, you know, through South Dakota and Wyoming and everything, I heard that our digital radios weren't working, and the only thing that worked were those analogs. Was that true? And if so, if that is true, why would we get rid of them?
I don't think these radios are like second or third generation. These are extremely old.
Are these the ones that were from the jail then?
Previous.
Okay.
Yeah, these aren't the recent.
We still have some old analogs sitting around then.
Most of your radios, Sheriff West, I know like in the fire trucks, you can turn to an analog on there as well. So the radios, you still have the ability to use analog with those.
Okay. You see, I'm not a techie, but I wanted to ask.
Maybe under 652 it fits. Yeah. Because the site at the bottom was 655, and public corporation is different from nonprofit corporation. So, I'm fine with that. There are some of these entities that set up like a fire, like a district, but then they have a nonprofit corporation actually doing it. Just to make it cleaner, it's always better to make sure the gift is to the district. They can let the nonprofit use it under their, but probably being hyper.
So, well, we need action to transfer these to the fire.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve 2026-09. Any discussion to that motion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Wait a second. This is. Oh, okay. And I looked at my title. It showed burn ban resolution. So
It always says that. I don't know why.
yeah, okay. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So. Thank you. Thanks, Sheriff West.
Mr. Chair, if you look in the admin content, it seems like there might be a couple more motions that are needed. Ken suggested that you hear from Pat what his intentions are and that you make a motion to proceed as Pat states. Then you need to make a motion for the COD itself, how you want that to be disposed of.
Or just delegate to Pat the authority. It's county property. You're asking the sheriff to dispose in particular ways, or he's asking for that.
So, in other words, it's no different.
Transfer the authority for him to do what he wants to do.
Just like when we approved him to go on that Purple Wave auction.
Yeah.
So we're. Okay. Any ideas what to do with it? Or
Well, so the sedan we're keeping.
The equalization offices would like to take that, and we will surplus one of our vehicles that we have to lift the hood to start and stop.
Fair enough.
It's a good car. It runs well. It's just small.
So we've taken care of the guns.
Yep.
And we've taken care of the radio. So if it sounds like
I'd like a motion for him to dispose of the surplus property that's been appraised in the manner that he has suggested, which is
but it
for
sounds
him
like
to trade.
It sounds like equalization would like that. So
Well, yeah.
So it's county property, so.
So I'll make a motion that the sheriff can dispose of the rifles in the manner which he suggested, that is, working with gun dealerships for credit.
Correct.
I'll do that.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second on the floor to allow the sheriff to dispose of the guns and working with gun dealerships. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same sign, motion carries.
Make a motion for the sheriff to dispose of the mortuary cot. What his best efforts, or?
I'll second.
If nobody wants to buy it, he can trash it.
Yeah, well.
Motion and second.
He's building a big new house. Maybe he needs it for a room.
Motion and second on the floor for the sheriff to essentially do what he wants with the mortuary cot. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
And we're going to take.
Oh, same sign. Motion carries.
And we're taking no action on the sedan.
And my suggestion is when they decide what they're going to surplus out of that department, then you take this one off the surplus.
Yep.
And put it back into service.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Let's move down to highway. The first item up on here is the overweight and overlength highway permit. The reason for this here today is our overweight ordinance allowed the highway superintendent Troy to give an annual permit up to 160,000 pounds gross. There are some gravel haulers that need to go more, and which we knew going into this, but we thought it appropriate on these roads. These are our paved roads. These are our roads that are that need a little bit more care. We thought that 160 would be an appropriate amount for Troy, and then if the heavier haulers needed to go higher, the process then would be to come in and talk to Troy, and it would come before us, because we have to, just no different than variances in the planning department. So it creates a little bit of a wrinkle in it, but at the same time, the ordinance is new and it's going to take some work in progress. But I think it's still appropriate, because I think, in even talking to some of the heavier haulers, we have Rodney Gray with Western here today. I think it's appropriate after a certain amount of weight that we take a look at it, because we are in charge of the overall budgets. We're in charge of what goes into these roads. So it also gets some off of Troy's back, and the commission won't be going back to him and saying, you're allowing too much weight. So we've had two trucking companies ask to go above that 160. Roth Trucking, who was here today, as well as Western Construction, and Rodney Gray's here representing them as well. Rich and I have taken a look with Troy as far as some of these numbers are concerned. It makes sense. They've got a lot of axles on those trucks. It spreads it out. The biggest thing that's going to be tough, and none of these trucks are the same, and I'm no expert on truck and weights and stuff like that, but and I appreciate their input, because it sure helps. When they load the truck, they need a little bit more on that tractor. So they're not asking to go over that 7 tons. They're asking to go up to about 100. What we're looking at is having Troy allow them to go up to that 192 and base it off of axle weight as well on that permit is what we're looking at allowing. Rich, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, so I mean, this really does protect Troy from having to do these types of permits. It pushes the question back on the commission whether or not, at the time of approval, essentially a variance, from that, we give Troy the authorization to write that permit, but it allows for the conversation to be had, and the two companies that have came in have been very open with their request. They're willing to work with us. They're willing to work with Troy, and have shown really good faith efforts in going forward here. So to kind of, they're not above the 7 tons. That the request isn't above the 7 tons. The request is for 192,000 pounds, essentially 4.5 tons on the trailer axles and around 7 on the tractor. So it's still under our limits, but the gross is over.
Any questions?
It's only when they're in those kinds of trucks, right?
Yeah, so those companies run those types of trucks, and they're looking for a yearly
But I
permit.
mean exclusively. Those are only the kinds of trucks they run.
Yes. And they're looking for a yearly permit rather than a one-time permit, because it just
And that's where it gets tricky, Commissioner Creed, is we're going to have to write these permits, and we'll have to have Troy write them by the axle. So if they're missing one of those axles, it's not going to allow that. Is what's going to happen. So Troy, and it's only for these 2 companies right now, because we would allow this for other companies, but these are the 2 that have asked. So the process, the way the ordinance spells it out, is if they need to go over this 160, they come talk to Troy, and then they come they come before us to ask to go over that 160. Because that's getting into serious weight. So I think the commission should be involved at that point.
Yeah, this is it's a big push on our infrastructure when we hit these numbers.
Yeah.
And it opens a conversation between Troy and the trucking companies, so that if there is an issue, we can ask them to not haul on that road. Or
that's why I'm not, super pleased at really heavy stuff, and wanted to make sure that
and we're clear
they weren't stuck on smaller axle trucks.
The meetings we've had with them were clear that this is a annual permit, which in ordinance is non-refundable, and it could at any time. That doesn't include when we have a frost limit, when you go over for spring thaw. It doesn't include the bridges. It also doesn't. We may at some point in time, if a road starts going backwards, let's say Elkvale or New Underwood Road starts going backwards, we could say it will allow you on any road except for these roads. So I think, and Mr. Gray, I think we've been very clear about that. Is that, you're acknowledging that? Yes, okay, thank you.
Well, I just remember way back when Roth was hauling on Fort Meade Way out there when they were doing the road rebuild out there by 34 or 79, whatever, through there. It caused a constant problem.
So, and we don't have to grant this permit either. Right. That's what we're looking at doing, and that's the reason this is on the agenda today. Any other questions? And or action?
I'll make a motion to authorize the highway superintendent to provide permits for Western Construction and Roth Trucking for a gross weight of 192,000. The tractor weights at front steering axle at 13,000. Is that right in the middle?
Yeah, pushers be a proper term. Is that right, Rodney?
Pusher at 11,000.
Get Rodney, if you want to come forward, please. Sure.
Construction. So our company is Western Construction and Element Trucking. So I just want to make sure that we have both Western and Element underneath that umbrella. So I don't, because the permits will be written under Element Trucking, but the parent company is Western Construction.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure we had that. So
okay. That's, yep.
It doesn't cause issues with somebody else seeing Element on the side. And
yeah, that's
so. Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
So permit for Troy to write the permits for Western Construction, Element Trucking, Roth Trucking, for the tractor weights to be 13,000 on the front, 11,000 on the pusher, 14,000 for both sets of drive axles, so 14 and 14. The trailer at 4.5 tons an axle, and a gross weight of 192,000 pounds. It's basically what's on the diagram that we have. That's an up to. That's not, you don't have to run at that. I think that you're going to actually be under that number, from my understanding. So.
Yes, correct. We'll be slightly under that, but we just go by whatever South Dakota bridge laws or federal bridge laws actually would allow us.
Yep.
So.
And this motion, Commissioner Liggett, that is allowing Troy to go up to, so where he could actually write this permit at 4.25 if he would choose.
It's been up to for Troy, and obviously the communication between Troy and the trucking companies is appreciate you guys coming forward and giving the information and working with Troy.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Go ahead, Ray.
Okay. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second on the floor to approve to allow Highway Superintendent Eastman to write this permit. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for coming in today, buddy. E2, notice to bid, 2026 auto seal and pavement patching chip seal.
Yeah, these are several projects throughout the county. Some leftover work from last year that didn't get done due to weather and contracting, so we put it all together in one large bid package to include other roads that also need to work. Bros Engineering, we talked to them about this and got their opinion, and they put together the set of plans and the bid documents and all that, and we'll also do the construction administration work and inspection sort of things that we need while it's being done.
So this is really something, last year we didn't do a lot of these things. This year we would like to do chip seal. These are things that are kind of, in our plan. Chip seal of Van Ocker Canyon, that protects the road. That's Nemo Road portion. Ironically, they did work on both sides of our section of Nemo Road, but not ours, and it would have been really nice to have our piece in there. Peaceful Pines Road, Deadwood Avenue, nope, not Deadwood, and then the surface treatment on New Underwood Road, which last year we put base stabilization on and have been, working through that. We did not get it auto sealed last year, so the plan is to get it all sealed up this year. The 3 miles of Elkvale Road and the Bill Janklow Road, those are portions that will fall within this contract, but are paid for by Game Fish and Parks, and then a number of patching portions on New Underwood Road north of the river. So there's plenty of work up there to do. So all in all, it's pretty substantial project bill, but obviously work that needs to be done.
Striping as well after all that's done.
And these are numbers or our costs that we put in assignments. So if awarded, then we'll have to do hearings to pull money out of assignments for these projects.
Any other questions on that? And/or action?
I'll make a motion to approve the bid process for the asphalt repair, treatment, striping, chip seal.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the bid process. Any discussion to that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The other one is the work order amendment for Bros to do this construction admin. I'll make a motion to approve 2026 auto seal work order amendment number 1.
Second.
Motion and second to approve this work order amendment. And I guess it'd be an authorizing the highway superintendent to sign, I guess. He's already signed. I need that since it's not. Any other discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Yes, back to Bros Engineering.
Any other questions for Superintendent Eastman? All right, thanks, Troy.
Thank you.
Planning.
Commissioners, Tanya Vig, Meade County Planning Director. In front of you, I have asked for the consideration of a professional service agreement with Lookout Planning and Code Consulting for residential and commercial projects. It would be on a case-by-case basis as projects come in. Chad and I are pretty able to handle most of the workload. It's the larger projects, like we have a couple coming in now. The commercial buildings are over 9,000 square foot with 4 stalls that are all rented out, just to get the second set of eyes on those that we are compliant with rules. And the larger residential homes and some of the pole barn homes are significantly larger to make sure that the codes are correct.
So,
where do we have a 4-unit commercial unit coming in at?
And Elk Vale, about just past the Pennington County line.
And just for clarification, Ms. Vig, I was talking to you about this last week. This will not cost the county anymore.
No, it won't cost anything. It's 20% of the fee that we collect from the contractor. So if the fee was...
And since it's 20% of the fee, it also will not cost the developer really anymore either.
Nope. It just comes out of our fee schedule. We pay for it.
They'd be getting paid for the work that they do. So
well, we still have enough money left over to do the 3
certainly.
inspections and.
Yeah, but there's also a provision in here about charge $100 other services, correct?
Correct. So if we have just a question, the gentleman that runs this firm, he emailed me. If we have just a code question or just general questions, he will not charge us. It's the $100 is if it's something special.
Right. If we send him plans and say, hey, this is more complicated than we usually do, could you take a look at some of the code
And
issues?
is our fee schedule set up so we can pass that on to the developer?
I do think we do have a provision in the fee schedule to pass on professional services that are required. Let's double check that.
Okay.
I'd recommend that we approve this, but in any case, just some of the complications. We don't need this that often, but when we do,
I agree, and my questions aren't to reflect that I don't think we should approve this.
No, I understand, but I do think, we probably should double check that just to make sure that's properly tracking. I think we did that for like engineering for sure.
Yes.
But I think it was broad enough to be professional services, so where that can get billed back on projects.
Yeah, double check it, and what I would suggest, if it's not set up that way, we should probably get it on our agenda for next meeting.
Yeah. So yeah, if it says just engineering, but we should probably expand it to other professional services.
Okay. Any other questions on this?
I think this is a great step, and I mean, some of these houses are very significant, and with some new things.
So yeah, the houses require the engineering on the foundations, but the structure side we do not require that in our ordinance. So we're just
Yeah, I think roofs have to have engineering.
Yep.
Whatchamacallit. Trusses, thank you.
I think you've mentioned a few 9,600 square foot houses.
Yep, we had.
Are you kidding me?
We do have one that's 96.
Almost as big as yours, Doreen.
Yeah, right. Where is that located at?
On the Belfouche River, out of town.
More of a lot.
Not mine. Okay, let's keep moving on. Is there any other questions, comments, and or action?
I didn't know if it was appropriate I sign it or if you sign it.
We can authorize it either way. Fine with me. We'll see what the motion maker.
I'll make a motion to authorize Anya to sign the professional service agreement.
Second.
To approve this agreement and to authorize her to sign, I assume. Okay. Motion second on the floor to approve this agreement and to authorize the planning director to sign this agreement. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Bring us to auditor.
Morning, Commissioners. Dawn Christensen, Auditor. We have our February report showing apportioning numbers, fees that were invoiced and collected, and our updated voter registrations through March 17th. We are seeing a little bit of a uptick in registrations coming in. Our main ongoing project right now is elections. We have a lot of deadlines coming up. Today is the deadline for city and school petitions to be turned into the cities and schools. The 26th is the deadline for those cities and schools that are combining with us to certify their candidates to our office. March 31st is the last day for primary petitions to be filed. April 2nd is the last day for candidates to withdraw from the primary election, and then we will be notifying candidates that we will have the drawing order on April 3rd at 9 a.m. in our office. And then we'll have a short turnaround time to get ballots created and ordered, and absentee voting is scheduled to begin on April 17th.
Any questions for the auditor? Not, let's go down to G2, special event alcohol license.
The Black Hills Meadow is requesting a special event for their liquor license. They paid the $100 fee with the application. They would like to hold a wedding reception on June 20th. We're asking for your approval.
Questions, comments, and or action?
Yeah, and just, this is a special event fee because it's not at their standard location. Is that why it's hard? That's my understanding. Is they have a liquor license, but this is not going to be at the site. That's why we don't have to have a public hearing.
Yeah, the location of the event says Black Hills Meadow, and the liquor license is held by Matt's Place.
It's by Matt's Place,
yep.
yeah. So it's an existing licensee providing alcohol for an event not at their location. And that's why there's no public hearing at their issue.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve the special event alcohol license.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve the special events alcohol license. Any discussion of that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. G3, 2026 budget 911 service fund cash transfer. To transfer cash into these cash funds because they can't be negative.
Right, we are recommending a cash transfer of half of the 2026 budgeted amount in the amount of $184,707 from the general fund to the 911 service fund.
Questions, comments, and or action?
What's the 911 service fund handle?
The dispatch.
Oh, the dispatch. That was my question.
I'll make a motion to transfer funds from the general fund to the 911 service fund in the amount of $184,707.
Second.
Motion and a second on the floor to transfer cash into the 911 service fund. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. D4, overtime report. Questions, comments on the overtime? Not, let's move down to H, Commission, communique. Some updates from various organizations, Board of Minerals, Rapid City Department Community and Development Agenda, and Rural Health. Any questions or comments on that? Not, let's go down to H2. It's a resolution for an open fire burn ban, which I will just update the board. It's Ken and Ray and I worked on this a little bit with all the fires going on. It's not 100% necessary we enact a burn ban simply because our ordinance pushes the county into a burn ban if we are high or greater fire danger, which we are in a high fire danger right now. we just thought with the need, with all the fires going on, it wouldn't hurt to have an open fire burn ban resolution passed. So you'll see a little bit, you may or may not have noticed, on the consent calendar. I'm also going to be asking that we're going to set a hearing for our next meeting, it's in consent, to open up Ordinance 27, which is dealing with the burn ban. There's a couple words that we need to clean up. One, it conflicts. One says very high still versus high. That's one place. But I would like to ask for, I've consulted with the fire chiefs on this, if we could put language within the ordinance that the chairman of the county commission could set a burn ban in between meetings. The reason for that would be last Friday we had a fire outside of Sturgis. There's high winds. The guy was burning a dump. Probably, in my opinion, we shouldn't have to do this, but it would be nice if the chair or somebody, after consulting with the other fire chiefs, would just enact an emergency ban, and it could be taken off at the next meeting. But with that said, that's the language I would like to add to the ordinance. Also, I think it would be appropriate, we did have this discussion when we opened this ordinance up last time, but every year we have a rally burn ban. I think it'd be appropriate to just put it in the ordinance of saying 2 weeks prior, 2 weeks after the rally, no open fires or something like that. But I just wanted to point that out. That's not for discussion today necessarily, but that's the reason that's on the consent, is that's some of the language I'm going to ask for next time. That takes a couple readings. I think, like I said, a couple weeks ago when we had all those winds, the grassland fire index did not get down to that high, up to that high category at that point in time. We had 80-mile-an-hour winds, and that's when all the fires started. We got Custer Fire going right now in Nebraska. It may not be there yet at this point in time. They burned a lot of acres down there, so I think it'd be appropriate to add some of that language.
We had red flag, we had critical high. You know, only an idiot would need government to tell them not to light a fire, but apparently we need to do that.
Right. So that's for consent. Today and what we're talking about now is this resolution 2026-10. Like I say, we are under a burn ban because of what our ordinance says, but this would not hurt us getting that out. The other thing I did was I asked the Sheriff's Department when that went up, you guys may have seen it, to put out that the Sheriff's Department is requesting no burning. It's not an action, obviously, and it didn't come from the commission. I just want everyone to be aware it came. It was a conversation I had with the sheriff. I said, if you could put out, we're recommending not burning. But nonetheless, this is what we have before us today, is this resolution, which is an open fire burn ban.
You know, the State Department of Public Safety also has a no burn of a slash piles throughout the area, but I don't know how they define a slash.
This, I think we looked at that. I think this would cover slash piles, wouldn't it, Ken, or not?
Yeah, it's
well,
open
the state
fire.
already would, but I mean, I didn't know how the state defined a slash pile.
Sure. I think we have slash piles in our ordinance. Is that correct?
Open fire is any outdoor fire.
Okay.
I do have a question on the fine. So, Ordinance 27, the cost of putting out the fire is the person who started his responsibility.
Correct. I'm not sure your mic's on, right?
Talk into it.
Talk into it. And this one is a $500 fine, so both are still true, right?
Correct.
So, okay.
And that's also authorized by statute. The fire that occurred outside of town was a burn pit. He thought it was out. The next day it reignited with the winds. And yes, he'll be charged if the fire department chooses to present the bill. There are several that haven't in the past, but yeah, they're responsible for the cleanup.
Any other questions, comments? Other questions, comments, and or action?
Make a motion to adopt Resolution 2026-10.
I have a second.
Second.
Motion and second on the floor. We'll give it to Talbot. He beat Commissioner Creed. On the floor to adopt Resolution 2026-10. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Commission updates. Any updates from the Commission?
Covered mine during
Yeah, I'm on that issue on the line. I'm going to try to make it over to the public presentation.
Ken?
Tomorrow.
That's a good point. The Simons is having a meeting tomorrow, and I think there's a few of us that would like to go to that meeting. Do we need to post that there could be more than 2 of us at that meeting?
Pull the statute. I'll give you an answer before. I just want to pull the statute. There's something for meeting.
Yep. We're not
somebody else's meeting, but I think that's other governmental.
Yes, and we're not in control of the agenda, but I think I would like to go. Commissioner Creed said something about going. I don't know if you're interested or not.
the other day, turns out.
So there could be 4 of us there.
Kind of where I'm at too.
And, yeah, okay. But we may have to put something out that we may all be there. Okay. Yeah, I think we've covered most everything. There's actually a bill signing today for Senate Bill 130 that is going to go to City of Box Elder. I think Ray and I are going to go over to that. If anyone else would like to go.
Court bill signing today.
Oh, neat. Well, what time's yours? Oh, I was going to say I'd crash
I
your
was
party.
invited, but I mean, I think it's like 2 o'clock, so.
Okay. Well, anyway, that'd be my update. I think Ray and I are going to run over to Box Elder for that. That was the bill that created $8 million for infrastructure off of the Ellsworth.
Half a bridge.
Yeah. Let's, as my mother said, let's be grateful for anything we get. So,
Yeah.
No other updates. Let's move down to consent. Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Make a motion to approve consent calendar.
Second.
Motion is second on the floor to approve the consent calendar. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mr. Kleberhad.
The statute 125.1 allows for any event hosted by a non-governmental entity to which a quorum of the public body is invited, and since it's open and you intend to have a quorum perhaps be present, where this body does not control the agenda, you may post a public notice of a quorum in lieu of an agenda. The notice of a quorum must meet the requirements of the statutes 125 1.1 and 1.3, and must contain at a minimum the date, time, and location of the event. So we have 24 hours in advance. You could post notice.
So if it was simply posted on our bulletin board that all commissioners may be at a meeting tomorrow at, there may be a quorum at Stage Barn School at 4 p.m. Would that suffice?
4 to 6.
So would you help? Could you help Rhea?
I will work with Rhea to get one
language?
posted up this afternoon.
We don't need action saying to post that.
Yeah,
do we?
by 4, so it's 24 hours.
Okay.
We don't need action saying to post that, do we? It's okay.
No.
To post, okay.
No.
So if you'd work on the language,
Yes.
we could get it posted on our bulletin board, and that would suffice, correct?
And it does need to be on our website, yes.
Oh, is that what it says, or it says posted?
You got to meet the requirements of one or the other statutes, and we have to post our agenda both physically and on our website if we have one.
Okay. Well, it's fine. Okay, if you'd work on that language, we'd get that posted. Okay, thank you. Exec session. Do we have a need to go in executive session?
There are things
Did we get, I guess let's go into exec real quick. I can see one item that legal.
I'll make a motion to go in session.
Motion to go into exec for, you don't have a second.
I'll second.
Motion and second to go into executive session for legal and contractual. Any discussion to that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We're now in exec. I will declare us out of executive session.
All right.
We completed our business and went through the agenda. I declare us adjourned. Thank you.